Good evening, everybody. This is Jeff J. Brown, China Rising Radio Sinoland, Shenzhen, just south of the Tropic of Cancer. Have a fun podcast article today. I think you're going to really enjoy it. It's a little bit different. It is titled, "In China, Anything is Possible. The Sky is the Limit. Be all you can be." All right, here we go. And there's some pictures, of course, and hyperlinks. So go to www.chinarising.puntopress, puntopress.com. Click on the blog tab to find this article. I always put the link with the SoundCloud and YouTube podcasts. My family and I lived in China 1990 to 1997, then 2010 to the present, and I have no intention of leaving. There are things that happened in our lives here that would probably have had very little chance of occurring if we were living in Europe or the United States. To learn about the first period, 1990 to 1997, you'll want to read books number 1 and 2 of the China trilogy. In 44 days, I reflect back a lot on the 1990s and compare them to the 2010s. The contrast is remarkable. In China Rising, to honor my family and all that we did together in the 1990s, I included at the end several letters that I wrote during that era, which really capture the zeitgeist of the times. It was a very special and formative 7 years. It was also incredibly intense, crazy, and emotionally draining. One area that has been a real hoot is acting in movies and TV shows. When we came back in 2010, Chinese cinema and TV were booming. Naturally, storylines often included roles for non-Chinese actors. Beijing was claiming status as the Hollywood of East Asia, so for the adventuresome, it was the perfect place to be. Acting agents were cruising social media and online groups looking for foreign talent. I can't even recall how, but we got hooked up with an agent who will go unnamed since we found out much later that she was paying us the minimum when we qualified for much more based on speaking parts, experience, etc., and likely pocketed the difference. It's okay. We were making good salaries as international teachers, and at the most it represented no more than a few thousand RMB. Not that much for us, probably a lot for her. We knew that our agent was taking care of her mother, and she wasn't driving around in a Ferrari. Heck, she didn't even have a driver's license. For us anyway, it was simply a blast to be part of the action and see how big movie productions get done in China. Over Christmas, New Year 2011-2012, our older daughter, Maya, came to visit from the U.S. Our agent told us that our younger daughter, Kiara, fit the part for a movie being filmed in Shanghai. We sent photos of her and she was cast for the part. Since Kiara was only 15 at the time, the production company offered to pay for one of us parents to accompany her. We explained to our agent that our older daughter was visiting for only 2 weeks. It was Christmas, New Year, and we really didn't want to be separated. The production company agreed for all 4 of us to go to Shanghai, but we would have to pay for the 2 extra plane tickets, hotel room, and per diem. They would send us the bill when it was all over. Fair enough. We thought it would be fun to spend a few days in Shanghai and see the New Year's festivities on the Bund, spelled B-U-N-D, an historic district in the city. It took a while, but we found out that the producers were the Huayi brothers, spelled H-U-A-Y-I, a big and well-known film company that would compare in size and reputation to the Warner Brothers in the United States. We also eventually learned that the movie was the Great Tangshan Earthquake, spelled T-A-N-G-S-H-A-N, based on one of China's worst natural disasters in history, 1976. Look it up. The original book was a huge hit, a full-length big-screen movie was a blockbuster, and now a 35-hour serial TV movie was in the making. Kiara was the star on our end, playing with an up-and-coming young actress named Guan Xiaotong, spelled G-U-A-N, first name Xiaotong, X-I-A-O-T-O-N-G. We learned that, in fact, the scenes for Kiara were supposed to be in Los Angeles. When we got to the first set in a high-end jewelry store in downtown Shanghai, it was not long before we heard, "We need foreigners on the set!" They approached my wife, Maya, and me and asked us if we wanted to play parts in the shoot. My wife got to be the sales lady showing outrageously expensive jewelry to Kiara and Xiaotong. They wanted Maya and me to act like a couple looking in the glass display cases, asking to check out objects. I knew this jewelry store was for real when I asked to look at a jade bracelet, and the price tag on it was 1,800,000 RMB, or about 300,000 US. Security on the set to protect all the mega expensive jewelry in the showcases was non-existent, where in China the idea of big heists is something, well, right out of Hollywood. The director, Yao Xiaofeng, Y-A-O, and first name X-I-A-O-F-E-N-G, and the executive producer, Baiyang, spelled B-A-I-Y-A-N-G, were pleased with our performances and our suggestions on how to make the set look American, and suddenly we became an acting family of 4. From then on, we were put in various scenes, having the times of our lives in the process. The next day, there was an outside shoot with about 50 foreigners on hand as extras for street scenes. Most of them were Eastern European students with no Chinese and just broken English. Nobody on the Chinese team could speak English, so Mr. Bai asked if I would take the Bullhorn, listen to Director Yao, and then translate and blast it out in English. Voila, I became an assistant director the rest of the time, using Mr. Yao's megaphone with relish. Kiara kept getting her scenes with her screen BFF, Xiaotong, and my wife and Maya got to participate too. And there's a picture of me taken by my wife using the Bullhorn on the set. Yours truly, assistant director on the set. Later, a scene came where they wanted to have a cop car drive down the street. Oops, no foreigners had driver's licenses, so I raised my hand. They were now shooting me driving around the city with the police officer's hat on. Call me movie set Mr. Handyman. And then there's a picture of me in the cop car. Yours truly is rent-a-cop for one particular shoot. Oh, what a riot. Since we were in China and these shoots were supposed to be summertime in LA, all 4 of us kept getting involved in helping set the scenes and backdrops. It was December, so there were Christmas decorations hung up in a cafe, so we reminded them that all this needed to be taken down, as well as all the Chinese language signs. They loved all our advice. We were proving to be useful at bridging the cultural gap and making the shoots more authentic. Xiaotong's on-screen mother was the big star of the movie. None of us who can remember her name. Every time I see her in a movie ad, I recall her. Ah, it's her! But keep forgetting to know who she is. Anyway, she had an arrogant attitude, treating everybody as inferiors. So I shall dub her Fathead. I'm not saying all Chinese stars are jerks. Her husband, character actor, also famous, was as cool and as laid back as could be, and when we met later at a dubbing studio, he hugged me and acted, pardon the pun, like we were long-lost friends, wanting to talk nonstop. Yao Xiaofeng and Bai Yang were unpretentious, friendly gentlemen, and everybody else in the filming crew were super nice. A couple of times, Fathead blew a gasket on the set, making a big scene. These acting puns are just too easy. Complaining about this or that. Everybody just nodded their heads and made her feel important. I guess it's part of the big screen ritual to have a prima donna to suffer through. During a break, Bai Yang asked if I would help Fathead with her lines. He pointed me to a big van, and in I hopped. Fathead was there with her male counterpart, a Frenchman with a very thick accent in English. Fathead couldn't speak a word of English, but as we learned later, Chinese and foreign actors silently mouth or mumble their lines in English, and they are later dubbed over. In fact, all over the next several years, Kiara and I got jobs dubbing Chinese actors and overdubbing foreign actors with really heavy accents where they wanted a native-sounding voice. That, too, was a lot of fun, and I met a bunch of nice people in the process. After the 4-day shoot in Shanghai was over, Yao and Bai were so pleased with our efforts that they paid for all of our plane tickets, hotel rooms, and per diem. We all got paid for our acting time. As I said, we later learned that if you have speaking parts, the pay goes way up. So 15-year-old Kiara did better than the three of us who were all older. In fact, we learned way later that as soon as you're asked to participate in a shoot, you have to negotiate on the spot how much you expect to be paid. Otherwise, you're working for free. As it stood, the three of us got paid as extras. Kiara got underpaid for her speaking parts. All my work as assistant director was a contribution to the cause, and it all balanced out with the plane tickets, room, and board. Anyway, we had the time of our lives, and New Year's fireworks cum laser light show extravaganza in downtown Shanghai was unforgettable. Back in Beijing, this 35-part drama continued filming. Before Maya returned back home to the United States, she joined us for another day of filming, and then my wife, Kiara, and I got asked to act a couple more days since Kiara was still doing work with BFF Xiaotong. Yao and Bai then asked me to play a big part as the psychiatrist for Fathead. It was filmed over a weekend at a gynecological clinic in Beijing. I played Freud to the psychologically traumatized star. Again, for a part that big, I could have asked for a lot more money, but I only got paid as an extra. That's okay. It was a blast, and to this day, strangers will come up to me and say, "Weren't you in that TV movie, The Great Tangshan Earthquake?" Those moments are priceless memories, and their cultural interaction with the Chinese is unforgettable. We also worked on more movies in Beijing. One was a World War II action flick, which is pictured in book number 2 of the China trilogy, called China Rising, talking about the amazing opportunities one has here in China. My wife and I moved to Shenzhen 2 years ago, but Kiara has been keeping after it, getting a number of acting roles around China, as well as dubbing in the studio, squeezing it all in while being a full-time student at Beijing Normal University. Recently, Kiara got invited onto a very popular TV show, the first female foreigner to get the call, based on the theme of the dating game and The Bachelor, called Fei Cheng Wu Zhao, meaning serious inquiries only. This being China, one guy gets to question 24 women, not just 2 to 4. She was so well received that she was asked back for 2 more shows. She was even picked by one of the guys, someone from Nanjing. Not sure what became of that. As a result, this being China, tens of millions of spectators have seen her on television. She told us last week that due to her excellent performances on Serious Inquiries Only and her live streaming work, she already has at least one job offer in the media when she graduates in 2 years. If you'd like to see Kiara in action, the 3 shows are below, and there's all the hyperlinks. And then I did a screenshot of one of her shows on Fei Cheng Wu Zhao. And it said, the caption says, "My daughter Kiara Brown on the hugely popular national show Fei Cheng Wu Zhao, or Serious Inquiries Only. The first foreign woman to get invited. She was asked back 2 more times. All told, Just on internet access alone, over 20 million people watched her, not to mention the actual show, which is broadcast live all over China, seen by many millions more. All of this is to demonstrate that in China, you have a much greater chance of doing unimaginable things that you would probably never get to do elsewhere. For every internet sensation in the West, like Justin Bieber or Kim Kardashian, there are thousands in China doing something similar. This is especially true now with live streaming, making millionaires out of everyday people who have a talent for appealing to the masses in front of a camera or microphone. With the Internet of Things, many Chinese writers are becoming online stars by writing serial and graphic novels, comic books, and displaying all kinds of artwork. Others are creating do-it-yourself films, TV programs, infomercials, advertisements, fashion shows, and I forgot to put in, but I can also say educational programs, and on and on. Start out working for free, get enough hits, and the producers come calling with contracts in hand. These stars are known as key opinion leaders, KOLs, or 主要意见领袖, And when their viewer numbers go up, the money rolls in. It's insane. I'm looking into reaching KOL status teaching English via live streaming. Why not? The final thought in all this is, what is your definition of freedom? The Chinese's concept of liberty is light years polar to that of the West, something I write extensively about in book number 3 of the China trilogy, China is Communist, Damn It. While mainstream Western big lie propaganda spends billions of dollars and euros trying to portray empire's enemies, think Russia, China, DPRK, Iran, Venezuela, Cuba, and many more, as totalitarian, authoritarian, and undemocratic hellholes, my 15 years of living, working, and traveling on the streets of China tell me that Chinese freedom and democracy are much more vibrant, real, and meaningful than anything I experienced in all my years living and working in the United States and Europe. That is why I always say that China is the greatest show on earth, and why would I want to live anywhere else? I'm having the unforgettable time of my life and feel like I'm getting younger, not older. This country and its people are advancing into the 21st century at warp speed. It is mesmerizing to witness and play a positive role. Oh no, another acting pun every day that I wake up. This is Jeff J. Brown, China Rising Radio Sinoland. Please share this article, podcast within your social circles, at work, school, church, everywhere you go. Please share this website to help people learn about the real China and dispel all of the disinformation and outright lies being constantly pumped out by mainstream media in the West. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.